No masks, no distancing, no restaurant. The state shuts down the spot that made national news for ignoring public health orders.
It's hard enough to walk without folks shaking the rope because of their own ideological or anti-scientific views.
What happened in Castle Rock is not what Reopen activists had hoped. Up the road at Park Meadows, the area's largest mall is playing by the rules and making progress to reopen. Finally, a date on the calendar when restaurants should learn their future. We look at the bill so far for Colorado's fight against COVID-19. We cheer the doctor home from the battle in New York City. And next, viewers, tell us what from these strange few months we should keep. All that is next. Reopen in Castle Rock and make national news for being packed with anti-maskers ignoring public health rules. Reopen activists had said publicly that what they actually wanted was for a ton of businesses to reopen at once in defiance of the public health orders. So many places open that the health departments would not be able to stop them all. If they knew it was just going to be a few, they knew that the state could come in and lower the boom. And today, boom. It wasn't just that C&C Café in Castle Rock skirted the rules over Mother's Day weekend. The place and its patrons acted like there is not a pandemic at all. Forget the masks, forget the social distancing. It was a feast of brunch food and respiratory droplets. The video made national news, and because C&C was out on that limb practically alone, Governor Jared Polis sawed it off today, pulled their business license indefinitely for creating a public health hazard.
If any business is causing an immediate health hazard, definitely. Just because you disagree with the law doesn't mean that you get to violate that law. We all disagree with different laws in our state, including me as governor. But we all honor those laws because we believe in the rule of law here in Colorado and here in America.
The governor did add that he does not think that these business owners who defy public health orders should face criminal charges. The cafe's owner told us today he's not certain if he is going to comply with this order to close indefinitely. Governor mentioned today that he is hoping to have guidance on reopening all of Colorado's restaurants on May 25th. Up the road at Park Meadows Mall, they are asking to reopen. Our Steve Steger sorted through a 100-page plan designed to allow the mall to operate safely.
They thought of so many things.
So many things, it took a day for us to go through them all.
The bathrooms are touchless. They have closed every other sink, so there's distancing between the sinks.
Republican Douglas County Commissioner Laura Thomas says this 108-page plan even blew away the deputy director for Tri-County Health.
She wasn't expecting much, but after she was done with the tour, she was absolutely amazed at what Pam Kelly had put in place to get Park Meadows open so it was still safe for the public.
Under the plan, Park Meadows removed all of the seating areas in the mall, including in the food court. They'll require customers and employees to wear masks as part of the City of Lone Tree's order, and they will provide masks for people who don't have them. The plan details the security station in the mall, a Lone Tree PD substation, which allows officers to watch surveillance cameras for large groups and then disperse them. They've marked out areas where you can enter and exit the mall to avoid contact. There's hand sanitizer all over. 16% of retailers would open at first to allow for distancing, and all stores that open would have to have their distancing plans approved by management and posted in the store for shoppers to see.
I think people are aware that they need to keep distance, and we're ready to do this.
Tri-County Health says the plan goes above and beyond what's necessary. Thomas says if this is approved, the county is ready to push for more.
We've got others in the pipeline, like churches. I've reached out to the churches, and they are providing us with what they can do to get open safely.
Douglas County submitted this variance request on Friday morning. We contacted the state today. A spokesperson said they don't comment on things that they're looking over right now. We never heard back from Park Meadows management through all of this. And right now, CDPHE is reviewing that variance request. So far, the state has approved 2 variances, one in Mesa County and one in Eagle County. Kyle.
And Steve, it just shows the striking difference, because when people say want to reopen can mean a lot of different things, from Park Meadows' 100-page reopening plan to, CNC's Café, praise capitalism and pass the coronavirus.
Just open the door, right? In this case, Tri-County Health actually toured this facility and said this is going above and beyond what the Safer at Home order calls for. And you got to wonder if other malls look at this plan and think, hey, maybe we could try something like this too.
Yeah, any other business might see it as a path if it's successful for Park Meadows. Steve, thank you so much. Hey, Colorado can legally camp again starting tomorrow, and you can travel more than 10 miles from your house to do it. The governor asked people to use common sense, and he specifically asked people to gas up at home and get their supplies there rather than stopping in small, high country towns to do that kind of thing. The idea is to keep different populations of people separate to keep the virus from spreading around. Camping will be reservation only, and any individual county can say no for now. Hey, we can stand and cheer for the continued decline in the number of COVID-19 hospitalizations in Colorado. It's right around 550. That shows you the daily trend. We were in the 600s in terms of hospitalizations for coronavirus all of last week. 53 patients have been released or transferred within the last 24 hours. All right, now look at testing. The amount of daily tests being processed in the state continues to kind of jump around a bit. After being up over the goal of 5,000 on Friday, the total number of daily tests is back down near 3,000 today. That's where we were last month, and it's thousands short of the state's goal for early May. Our Chris Vanderveen is on a never-ending quest to provide you with coronavirus numbers with context. Tonight, a new batch, something called positivity data. Comes straight from the Department of Health, and as Chris shows us, this will be a key number to watch.
2 months into testing, Colorado now has 2 months of testing data for us to analyze. As we talk metrics that deserve your attention, might we also offer this? At the bottom of the state's data page, you'll find this graph with green and yellow bars and one red line. Let's ignore the bars for a moment and concentrate on this. That red line represents percentage of tests that have come back positive. We're using the 3-day moving average to smooth out some of the bumps. Why should you care about this? Because look what happened in late March, early April. The line started moving consistently up, topping 20% on a few occasions.
There are almost 1,100 cases of coronavirus.
From yesterday, it's the largest one-day increase by far.
That was a time when testing remained limited to mostly very ill patients. Logic suggests the more sick people you test, the more positive cases you'll find. But as the state started doing more testing, the line started moving down. Now let's look at the green and yellow bars again. That's daily test numbers. See, tests go up, red line goes down. That's important because it's another metric that shows the spread of the virus did in fact slow. It became more difficult to find. The World Health Organization says 10% is a benchmark for countries to reach. Get below 10%, as we have done now for a few days, and that's a good sign. Should this line start to creep back up as the state sees even more testing, that'll be an early indicator the virus is trying to mount a comeback. For Next, this is Chris Vanderveen.
Now let's talk about the cost of this fight. The state has to figure out what it has spent so far during the pandemic so it knows what it has left to spend on other emergencies. Politics guy Marshall Zellinger is majoring in math today. Marshall, the dollar amounts that the state has had to spend are a little hard to grasp, but they're not really surprising.
There are so many pots of money at play, Kyle. The part that interested me most was how much the state is spending from its own disaster emergency fund, and it's almost $90 million. That's basically just in 2 months. There are other pots of money at play, though, from Congress and FEMA as well. But that state disaster emergency fund, we've already spent $88.5 million. Nearly $51 million of that is on personal protective equipment, medical personnel, even those interpreters that we see at the news conferences. Close to $27 million for leases and renovations to alternative care sites, including field hospitals, and $7 million for the state health department on testing and lab equipment. That's all state money. Congress has kicked in $2 billion to Colorado from the CARES Act, including $42 million to provide free child care for emergency workers. Then there's a third part of money, FEMA, which has promised more than $28 million for Colorado. We found out what for during a legislative budget update today.
These obligations have been used for, among other things, N95 masks, ventilators, nursing contracts, and expenses for alternative care sites like the Denver Convention Center.
I've saved the worst news for last. The state's budget office estimates that by the end of next June, 13 months from now, there'll be about $11 million left in that disaster emergency fund. Not too long ago, there was $100 million in that fund, Kyle. It's meant for all types of disasters, not just COVID-19. We just ran through it so fast because of that in the last 2 months.
So I know sometimes when we have emergencies, the state will outlay the money first and then eventually they get a federal reimbursement. Do we think that's going to happen here?
Yeah, FEMA is supposed to refund 75% of the money from that emergency fund as long as we can line item it was used for COVID-19 emergency response. The state doesn't believe that they will just hand over 75% without question, so they estimate maybe we'll get about half or 51% of that money back, so about $45 million back.
All right. My brother in a sweater, Marshall Zellinger. Thank you for the insight on the financial aspect, as always. Thousands of restaurants in Colorado did not make the news this weekend. They made food, and they served it safely to customers. Those thousands of restaurants in Colorado did not make the news because they chose public safety over political posturing. And they are the ones that made the hard choice. It's hard to work with shifting public health advice. It's hard to operate a restaurant on carry-out and delivery only. It's hard not knowing if you can reopen in a few weeks as hoped. And it had to be hard seeing another restaurant welcome a packed crowd of anti-maskers and politicians posing for pictures. I hope that the small businesses doing the hard things to keep people safe right now don't end up having to wait longer to reopen as a result of what we saw over the weekend. They may not get the attention, but I hope they continue to get our business.
For weeks, their family time was through a screen.
It's been really rough, I'm not gonna lie. It's, all they want to do is cuddle and all they want to do is be next to me.
A doctor back home in Colorado after serving in New York City still has to wait to hold her kids again. And you tell me, what about this hasn't been terrible? What should we keep from the stay-home era? Your answers next.
How often have you filled up your gas tank in the last couple of months? Would you pay for that? Probably not very often, probably not very much. And those answers are what are contributing to a catastrophic situation for oil and gas operators in Colorado right now. The first quarter of the year, there were 240 wells shut in. Now, chances are they're shut in because it's just not profitable to have them running. More than 300 other wells were temporarily abandoned, and that tends to be a precursor to suspending operations. Today, we asked Colorado's top industry regulator if the state is considering some kind of bailout for oil and gas operators.
The theme of the day was that we feel confident that we'll be able to continue to ensure that producing wells are safe and shut-in wells are safe. But we don't have like an independent set of authority or otherwise to assist companies during this downturn.
So no help coming from the state, clearly. Unlike some other states, Colorado does not have the ability to set production levels. It's based on market forces, and obviously right now the market for oil and gas is weak globally.
Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a great Monday. I'm meteorologist Kylie Burse. We're not quite done with the showers for tonight just yet, but once we are, we're going to warm things up throughout the rest of this week. Let's take a look at your forecast. Look for a few showers to roll across the I-25 corridor, mainly after 7, 8 o'clock. They'll be pretty quick, and then we'll clear things out. There will still be some cloud cover overnight, waking up to some patchy fog with those temperatures dropping into the upper 30s overnight. And then tomorrow, after that fog clears out, we're going to warm things up quickly, back up into the mid-70s, closer to average for this time of year with partly sunny skies. Up near 80 degrees on Wednesday. We stay mostly dry for Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we'll be hovering right around 70 with a chance for a few afternoon showers and thunderstorms by Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday.
What should we keep? As we transition out of the stay-home era, what have we discovered about ourselves, the people and the places close to home, that's worth keeping? I asked, and you are helping to build us a list.
Gratitude. Putting that right at the top of the list. Thank you, Laura. Being a chef instead of a cook. Dan, I love that. Brenda gave me 2. Let's keep the simplicity of life and the knowledge we can do more with less. Cleaner air, the pursuit of new recipes, daily walks. Peace wrote that she thought she worked for a greedy corporation, but they took care of every single employee. She adds to our list, appreciating my job. Time to think through things rather than just reacting. Kara, that's great. A craft beer a day. Cheers to you, Tim. We should keep the feeling of being grateful for the grocery store and the people who work in it, right, Barbara? Gio said this is the first time he's been able to open up about mental health struggles and asked that we keep that understanding. All the creativity, checking in on neighbors, more family time. Put another exclamation mark on that, Kalina. As for me, I think we should keep building this list.
Our friend Dr. Camilla Sasson is back from New York City. 26 days spelling doctors at hospitals in Queens and Brooklyn during the pandemic. She got home in time for a Mother's Day surprise.
It's been really rough, I'm not gonna lie. Well, other than this thing that he's grown since I've been gone.
When she first went out there was a lot of uncertainty. She was going into, a hot zone.
When I was in New York City, I was working in a COVID positive hospital. So we were wearing personal protective equipment pretty much around the clock. Gosh, it was fascinating. It was crazy. It was amazing. We're learning so much about COVID-19, just all the different presentations, all the different ways to treat it.
Madeline is 3 and Logan is 5. He's just a big teddy bear.
That was probably the lowest point, I think, for me personally during the 4 weeks, just because that was that realization, like, wow, here you are, sitting in New York City and your child is screaming, crying.
Oh my gosh! Just having the kids while trying to hold a full-time job was very difficult as well. I got a lot of great support from neighbors and from family and friends. When I heard that she was going to be home on Friday, I thought that's fantastic. She'll be home in time for Mother's Day.
Hey, who's at the door? Do you want to go look?
And let's keep it a secret from the kids, and we'll get their reaction. And when she walked in the door and ran over to her, and they were just ecstatic, and it was just awesome to have her back this weekend.
Oh, I missed you so much. Kind of trying to stay away from them as much as possible. It's hard. I know, it's so hard. All they want to do is cuddle. Okay. What I took the most from New York City was that, getting to be with all those folks, learning so much for them. Are you guys surprised? I just want to be able to do that and take care of my community here in Colorado.
Just the best. You fell into the ring above the fire. You drilled down, 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 and your concerns went higher. Your curiosity burns, burns, burns about the ring, about the fire. One viewer cashed in and got her own. Next. I never expected that the highlight of taking next to my basement would be your fascination with the fireplace, specifically the wood ring above it. Michael went next level, though, and built a version for his wife. Theirs is a wine cork holder, so it will fill based on consumption. Took several hours to build, Michael said, complete with the staining and the varnishing. That actually looks really nice. Michael, that is spectacular. Derrigan writes in tonight, next going deep with the math and science today. That's good journalism, not just this happened today. Deep analysis of data and numbers. Please keep the feedback coming on what you would like us to dive into when it comes to those numbers. Andy says, been continually on the fence about your show. You won me over with your take about the Castle Rock restaurant that shall not be named. There's a lot of different ways to open. Yeehaw is not a strategy. I will see you next time.